Hey there, fellow dark researchers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld: The Darkest Ages. Episode 17, Capturing Our First Entity. As far as holding cells go, I think I want the holding cells... Well, I want them along the external wall, but not sharing external walls with anything. And then maybe I'll put them over here. So that will be the plan. I'm going to keep each entity individually, so there's no risk of group breaks, because I don't want to endanger anyone needlessly. And then if you imagine that we get like guest accommodations maybe here, it keeps them kind of far from the entities, which I'd imagine they wouldn't want to be near the entities. How nice can this room get? We're up to 117, which is pretty close to the 120 mark. That's good to know. This room is getting a little bit too cold. If it dips too low, we end up with a situation where our food, our meat spoils. So I'm going to put a fire in there. And now I think it's finally time to transition back, given that the outside temperature is below freezing, to a hearth. I just realized we have no blocks. So let's start coring up blocks for that. I'll core up the blocks before I get rid of the torch. So, still working on the holding cells, it's just, I need to deal with ambient, I need to deal with the temperature in the base first. We still don't have a lot of wood hauled in, but there's a decent amount of wood out there, I think. It might be that just that I have over-labored my people. Why are you sewing? Don't. So, we're getting the last... Wow, that's a lot of clothing. We're getting the last of the shelves for weapons going, and of course I don't have any spare weapons. Oh, come on. One fire was too much. I needed like a second... Okay, refuel this. So fussy about temperature. So it needs to stay between 6 and 20, which is just like not easy to do when you're on medieval budget. But too passive in a heater seems to be like the perfect mix. Just very fussy. All right. The last of these shelves are now done, and that means that we can finally start planning out the holding cells. Is the whole thing ruined? Yeah, basically the whole thing's ruined. As you can see, missing inputs, 0 out of 75. So it still, for whatever reason, shows that there's meat on the rack, but there really isn't. It just destroys everything. It sucks. Inside zone is going to update. And it looks correct. So, for holding cells, here was the plan. Castle walls are really expensive, but in this case, I think they're worth it. I am not going to cheese my holding cells. So the castle walls, if you're wondering, have a hit point of 1275. You could build, like, grand gates that are much higher and build a holding cell of just grand gates, but that would be super weird. So instead what I'm going to do is use like Granite Castle doors as a security door. And then the Granite Castle walls and a holding cell will look something like this. And initially, I don't have any other higher tech than a holding platform. But eventually we'll get something better than just like simple holding platforms once we have some anomalies to analyze. And note that it's doubled up walls. So attackers from the outside can't just like pummel their way in and release entities all that easily. And right on schedule, the 11th of September, we lose the ability to sow in the open fields. My grow season, according to the game, is September 11th, I think, or 11th of September. So here's 12th of September, killing my crops. Pretty reliable. Brigand encampment. Guarded by 7 subjects? No, I'm not doing that. You may also need to leave a gap between the spot and the door. They will research with the door open. There's a gap. Already done. Nice. Lillian's recovered from being absolutely massacred by a lynx. Fantastic. And the armor's almost done. I hope it's high quality. He's got a crafting 14, so it should be, hopefully be at least good. And then we'll work on the shield next. It was good. So we're going from 106 to 65 without to 130 with. Not bad. And then we'll get a heater shield on, and Klein here won't be able to move very fast. So probably we're going to keep him on the island so he can respond to threats quicker. Because if we deploy him out beyond the walls, he's not really going to be able to get to help people within a reasonable period of time. But he is good to go. So we're getting the heater shield now, and to avoid the tattered barrel, because he's got a tattered heater shield. At some point, we'll go ahead and invest in a wood fire smelter so that we can melt down the things that are worth melting down. And we can actually start taking gear from raiders, their armor and arms and all that jazz, and melt them down for our own uses, so that we don't need virgin steel mined up fresh. We can just reuse. There's the shield. It is good quality. And that should raise us up to maybe sharp 132, 133. Not bad. It's pretty good sharp for medieval times. Respectable, even. What to research next? I don't think I'm like actively going to push for research, but I will allow you to vote on it. So we've got long blades, double strand. Did I get septic tanks? Yeah, I did. Carpet making, heavy bridges, complex workshops. And I'll add heraldry, which adds banner standards, tabards, rugs. So what complex workshops are, is they're like, kind of like a multi-analyzer or like a library. They're stuff that helps you make things more efficiently. Like a research board helps research, smithing anvil helps for smithing. So it's a lot of research to get it, but it will help slight boost the research speed. I can also add wine to the mix here. So there it is. 2.5 minutes to put in this bowl. Alright. First thing we want to do, smelt all apparel forever. And this is going to be tainted. So anything tainted that is smeltable gets smelted. Additionally, in buildings, I'm going to do buildings and tainted. So, and tainted means and tainted apparel. So all apparel that is tainted gets put here. That is smeltable. And then that should help clean up some of the stuff that we have in our inventory. So if I start refining, we're smelting old heater shields. So this is... oh, I did it backwards. Then the other thing is smelt all apparel that is tattered. So clean and tainted don't care, but if it's tattered, it goes. I'm being warned I need warmer clothing. I have lots of cloth now from that harvest. So let's make a parkas up to 2. And we are getting rid of a lot of junk. Awesome. Cleaning up. Hey, Medic Sloan. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, exactly. Better late than never. I agree. How much wood do I got out there? Oh, yeah, I got lots. Okay. Let's, given that we're heading into the winter, force haul everybody except for... how many meals do I got? 12? Force haul everyone except for Matic. Matic, you are mining over tailoring? Let's not do that. Wait, how is that even... you have tailoring tasks. Why would you not tailor? I am super confused. You should have been tailoring. I'm going to change the priority for this stockpile to 95 plus, basically fresh off the loom. And it is warning me that Klein is going to need warmer clothing. I don't really have the ability to keep Klein warm, but the thing is, if he's restricted to the island, he's never going to be that far from, you know, some heated area. It also reminds me, no, I don't yet have the blocks for that. Because I wanted to get the hearth in, but I don't have the blocks. So I think what I'll do is I'll temporarily freeze the construction project over here, so we can get 150 blocks for the hearth, so we can get a heated environment for the winter. Then the next one that I'm going to smelt for all apparel and for weapons is low quality. So any apparel that is awful or poor gets smelted. And any weapon that is awful or poor gets smelted. Don't need to be collecting crap, essentially. Looking at you, plate armor. Why are you so... Oh, okay, you're hungry. Alright, it's pretty clear you guys want complex workshops. Which is funny, because I don't even have a workshop yet. But, so be it. What's the current colony wealth sitting at? It is sitting at 83k. And as far as the breakdown goes, it is a mix of items and buildings with a little bit of creatures. But it's mostly items, buildings at about 37, 35, pushing up that number. Well, we've had a... It's been peaceful. So, I'm sort of waiting for it to get a lot less peaceful. Because it never stays peaceful for long. It's been a weird length of peace now. Travelers wish for alms. 70 herbal medicine? I don't even have 70, dude. I mean, I know we believe in charity, but you're asking for more than I even physically have. I know we have some in our pockets, but like... Good God. Talk about... selfishness? And I can't put this here because it's not standable, so let's move this over. And then it should be fine. Yeah. Okay, definitely don't need their passive coolers anywhere but the meat processing room. And as far as clothing goes, we've got parkas for everybody now. So once we get really cold, we can use it. I am also smelting the tools. I realize they are part of the bill, but they were both poor tools, the pick and the scythe. I don't care. I'm not worried about tools right now. Yield from mining and yield from plants is like not a problem because I have lots of that stuff. So I do intend to fulfill this request that they had for me. It pains me to say, but we do believe in charity. So they're here for... Move on after a day. It's been 6 hours. We'll have Avalka, our leader, start to give herbal medicine to them. And then obviously what I can do to offset that is to harvest the wild herbal medicine, the wild heal root that's out there, to make up for the fact that we're like dumping all of our medicine to them. And I'm also harvesting this stuff early. And they're telling us about a warehouse. Cool, but like, we didn't do it for that reason. Yeah, low medicine warning. Yeah, no kidding. I know. It's your fault, Randy. Is my billiards usable? Yeah. The pew is walkable, but I can give it a little bit more room too. I hadn't intended for this to be like an ideology room. It was a stopgap measure. and hopefully we remedy that in the future. All right, the hearth is doing its job. It's now, we're not sleeping the cold. It's nice and warm. And we can go back to making the entity holdings. And I think I am going to cap the amount of entity holding that I build to 2. And then take on another priority. We can build more if you want, but I'll put it to poll. I know I'm still high priority hauling. Knowing that winter starts tomorrow, I wanted to get as much of the wood out here hauled into the base as possible. Because we're gonna need it, I am sure. Another thing I'm going to want for the entity holding cells is a shelf for wood, because an unilluminated holding cell is less secure. So the security is a mix of wall strength, door strength, and other things like light level. That's yet another reason to haul wood, is we can't keep them securely if they're not illuminated. There are other entities that will have special conditions, like, for instance, weaker in the cold or something like that. But we're not really worried about that at the moment. And I left the door forced open just because there's nothing in there right now, so it doesn't really matter. Goldilocks has wandered in. What is their handling? 8, yeah, can't do anything about that. Our highest handle. Oh, no, that's not true. Ginger's an 11. I'm a little worried that, what is their revenge chance? 10? Yeah, it's not worth it. They would, if Ginger tried, or, I mean, I don't need to lose people to try to tame wild animals for no reason. So once this door is closed, it's a holding containment of 261. It would be a little bit higher if it was lit, and it would be higher still if it wasn't just like a random holding spot, but we don't have any research to make better holding spots. And as I mentioned, I intended to build 2 of these before we start with another build priority. So once that's done, what do you want me to work on? And let me add one more thing to this poll. And there it is. I added hospital at the end. Some sort of treatment room. We're gonna need to cook again. Avalka, I'm actually gonna wake you up in the middle of the night. Sorry, but we are out of food. And let's put the meals up to 22 rather than 12. Yeah, we're starting to get starving. I'm also gonna put 3 vents instead of 1. Maybe I'll space them out like that, so that we can take advantage of the ambient temperature being low. And now that I have a lot more steel, I don't need to be cautious about my steel usage. It's fine. kind of probably shouldn't be cooking with this, like... Ah, there, now it's a kitchen. Well, workshops and hospital going head-to-head. As far as, like, actual hospital beds go, I don't, you know, that's not in the cards, but what it can do is it can have, like, a well-lit, stocked with herbal medicine room, which would help with treatment. Why not wall the vents up to make a furnace in case the enemy breaks the wall? Ambient heat does basically nothing to an enemy. That's why. Heat traps, like, don't work in a timescale that matters. You die from heat stroke after, like, 12 hours. So, a raider isn't going to give two squats about a little bit of ambient heat. Raiders die when they're lit on... Like, even a room at, like, 1,000 Celsius, a raider's going to be able to pass through mostly without spontaneously combusting. If you want to stop raiders with, like, some atmospheric effect, it's either vacuum or, like, an active fire. Anything else is not going to work, and we already have done the whole, like, fire trap, and because of the Fog of War mod, fire traps don't really work. So trying to intentionally trap enemies in hot environments or cold environments doesn't work. You mean to protect the kitchen? Oh, you mean like a chimney? I could build chimneys, but, you know, that's not what we're pulling on. I'm building containment cells. I'll hit the macro, but the TLDR is I work on what is voted on. If it ain't voted on, I ain't working on it. That's always true for my series. Because there's enough people in chat that if I worked on everything that anyone chatted, I would get nothing done. I would be doing a little bit of everything and no project would actually be finished. So I don't want to fall into that lack of production trap, and instead I just work on what's voted on, and I guess that is gonna be a tiebreaker between workshop and hospital. Shambler's approach. So I would love to capture my first entity. I'm going to try to go against these shamblers in the morning when I have the advantage of light. Now, of course, it is foggy, so it kind of sucks, but, you know, whatever. Our accuracy be damned. I do have one cell ready to go. And the research would be invaluable. More than likely, they're just going to die, but we'll see. Good target practice for the shooters at the very least. Especially given that it's foggy. I spend a lot more time shooting and a lot less time hitting. Okay. A Valka you dodge, you capture. Yoink! We got one. Well, I might want you out here, though. Not certain that the other shooters can actually, you know, hit targets well enough. So he's not bleeding. Shamblers don't bleed. Client's like sighing me like, yeah, you drafted me against these idiots. I know, man, I know. They can't hit the broadside of a barn. Not in this fog. You love how the Shambler's portraits are more fleshy than the creatures are? Yeah. Low-key, yeah. Advance! And there should only be one more Shambler left somewhere over there. Pretty easy kill. Hey, Bahab Blast! Thank you for the resub. Welcome, man. Oh, there's the shard. Well, I'm glad that we captured the one we captured, because the others are just, like, completely getting obliterated. Yep, there it is. And JD! Thank you for the resub, too. So, Shambler Nick. Study interval every 2 days. Escape never, because they're downed. But they'll heal over time. And work. We're going to have McGee be our dark study scientist. Meaning that he'll spend some time, of course, doing traditional research, but a lot of his time is going to be spent researching the entities. Trying to figure out what makes them tick, and then maybe weaponizing technology to help fight them. With any luck. Alright, Team Workshop, you have won the day. I'll clean these two up, the other ones I don't care about. Do I need a light in the cell now? Wouldn't be a bad idea. Although Shamblers are, like, horrible at escaping. Ooh, and we tamed a porcupine. Nice. If you're wondering why I want porcupines, is a bit of an exploit. But basically, porcupines are extraordinarily good at suppressing entities. Porcupine quills cause a lot of pain. And when an entity escapes, if you have a porcupine, if you have the entity fight the porcupine and the entity gets full of quills, they can end up with so much pain as a result of the quills that they can't escape. That they lose their consciousness. So porcupine meta is something that I will absolutely take advantage of here. Torturing entities sounds fun too. So we are building up anomalous research points. And I am going to research first entity containment. I think it makes sense. Knowing how to contain them is kind of seems to me kind of important. I'm gonna need a new zone. Animals. Because I don't want the porcupine just like going in and out of the entity cells. And eventually, after I build at least a workshop, I can add ranch or animal containment to the bill. But I do have 1,400 hay grass, so it's not like they're gonna run out of food. And yeah, let's name them. It's not, I can't with any guarantee say that these porcupines are going to live very long, given what they're actively being tamed for, like entity suppression and all. But you can name them, you know, or have them named after you rather. So good luck on that. Raffles up. So the first workshop I am going to want to build is going to be tailoring, because I have need of clothing more than really anything else. Does that come with... Yeah, there's the tailor sign. Awesome. Would porcupine be warm enough out there in the winter? As long as it doesn't drop below -30, which, like, it shouldn't, it should be fine. -30 is a hell of an allowance. Temperature allowance. Oh, we even got some of the pikes. Granted, they're like destroyed. Got some of the pikes from beyond the walls. Alright, 2 holding cells. Sweet. Now that the holding cells are done, let's build a tailor workshop. So taking a look at the medieval technology complex workshops, the tailor workshop can benefit from mannequin stands. Mannequin stands reduce the cost of crafting apparel by 10%. Only one workbench can use one mannequin. So we're going to want at least one space for a mannequin stand. The other things that that link up to the tailor workbench. Tailoring tools. And tailoring tools speed up. And how many can link? I don't know how many can link without making one. But my larger point is we're going to need... I think what I'll do is have the tailoring workbench be semi-attached to the this working area. But most of my other workshops will not be. This is just like a unique one because of the high volume that will be required. Wow, I have so many shards. Nope, 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 nope. Don't do that. Don't want to roof up the steam geyser because it would get super hot. And I don't want to capture that heat because it's really annoying to account for. Look at how many people are quarrying. Gutworms for Ginger. A little worried about her. Her pain is already kind of high. So plus gutworms, she like might honestly lose consciousness without even being hurt by anything. But okay. And little porcupine is going to be called Destroyer. I'm assuming you want to be named Destroyer. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was recently reading about porcupine quills and how absolutely nasty they are. That they like embed and work their way into your body further and further and further for like animals out in the wild until they like pierce organs and kill you. That they're really like, I mean, they're no joke at all. They're brutal. Thank you for tuning in to RimWorld The Darkest Ages, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that watched all the way to the credits. So thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode for an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow knights.